Hey guys, welcome back to another Friday Fireside Chat. Hope you've had a great week so far, taking care of yourself, congratulating yourself for reaching the end of July, where the theme has been establishing boundaries and assertiveness. Now we're moving into August, healing the inner child. And I'd like to take some time to share a parable from, I heard it I think a long time when I was a kid ago, and I've been recently listening to this podcast called The One You Feed. They always start the episode off with this parable. It's a really interesting parable, and I think it's really important as we get to talk about healing the inner child. So here's that parable. You can find the link in the show notes, by the way. A young boy came to his grandfather, filled with anger at another boy who had done him an injustice. The old grandfather said to his grandson, "Let me tell you a story. I too, at times, have felt a great hate for those that had taken so much with no sorrow for what they do. But hate wears you down, and hate does not hurt your enemy. Hate is like taking poison and wishing your enemy would die. I have struggled with these feelings many times. It is as if there are two wolves inside me. One wolf is good and does no harm. He lives in harmony with all around him and does not take offense where no offense is intended. He will only fight when it is right to do so and in the right way. But the other wolf is full of anger. The littlest thing will set him into a fit of temper. He fights everyone all the time for no reason. He cannot think because his anger and hate are so great. It is helpless anger because his anger will change nothing. Sometimes it is hard to live with these two wolves inside me because both of the wolves try to dominate my spirit." The boy looked intently into his grandfather's eyes and asked, "Which wolf will win, grandfather?" The grandfather smiled and said, "The one you feed." And so I really love this parable because it's applicable for everyone. It's human nature, it's a commentary or a parable that really speaks to the human condition. It's not only for those who are reparenting, but maybe those who are reparenting did not have those lessons, life lessons, those connections with elders who carry down these kind of things. And so I really love this parable because it reminds us every day that we have the choice. As I've been reminding you, I stepped away from that ACA program and started doing this, for myself, not to replace it or challenge that, but kind of like to take myself and hopefully show others what I was trying to do and trying to understand that, this program is not perfect and the ACA program is not perfect. Every program has bits and pieces, and there's a lot that was missing from the ACA program. I've recently started going back to some meetings just for some connection, and I've still again noticed, I understand why the laundry list traits or the defects of character, are read in every meeting. But, what I've come to understand is, if you are repeating that every meeting you go to, say you go to a meeting every day, and you're always listening to this negative, it's getting burned into your mind, you're wearing that pathway. So the thing is, we need to be proactive in creating more positive mental scripts as opposed to reinforcing the negative. Reparenting, I think, is not as difficult as people set it out to. Actually, I know it's not. It's a matter of your mind. And so this parable is great because it reminds us that we have a choice. We just have to slow down first, begin to regulate our nervous system, because between every action and a response, there is, between every event and a response, there's a tiny pause. And within that pause, we have the ability to choose how to act. This is the crux of reparenting, learning how to regulate ourselves to the point where we can begin to have more option. And that begins with gaining awareness, not beating ourselves up and apologizing and forgiving our inner child for the things they didn't know, the mistakes they walked into. I mean, life is crazy sometimes. And so, I've been feeling a lot this past month in July. It's been very bumpy for me. My health has been not so good at all. But I've still been working on this podcast, coming here every day. Sorry for the few delays I had last month. I'll do better this month. But again, I was really, really struggling with my physical health, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I'm still here for you guys every day. Still working, still chugging away, still chipping away. And yeah, I just wanted to share this parable with you because I think it's really important as we begin to come back to our inner child. You have that ability to nurture yourself, to give yourself what you need. You have the ability to ungaslight yourself, and that honestly is one of the most painful things that I've been dealing with right now, because I was programmed with a lot of guilt, from the way that I was raised, of my responsibility, just is to take care of my mother, that I have a lot of, unspoken contracts, that life has to be hard, that there's a lot of things that I'm realizing are weighing me down as I really begin to cut that emotional umbilical cord with my mother. Reparenting is not an intellectual process, even though some might criticize and say, well, this podcast is quite intellectual heavy, but, we're only in the beginning. I plan to continue to involve this, but that intellectual understanding and education is also really important because you cannot begin to shift your worldview or your understanding, your framing of your past if you don't have new knowledge. You can't build, rebuild with the same broken, tools and resources. You need new resources to build a new understanding. And with that new understanding, you're better able to regulate yourself and go back in and be able to face the trauma, which is then we get to more of the somatic things, which we'll definitely be touching on later. That's why I include the meditation at the end, because it's also very important. And so I just wanted to share this with you guys and give you some encouragement as we begin August, as we begin looking at healing the inner child, and reminding yourself of this parable that you have more choice than you realize. That the information that you consume repetitively is also important. So be mindful of that, because that is the wolf you're feeding, And so that's one of the criticisms I had for that ACA program. Yeah, new people need to be aware of the reason why they're here, but if you keep repeating that, you're feeding the wrong wolf. And so here in this podcast, I'm trying to get us to feed the good wolf, basically, something that's going to be uplifting, empowering us, encouraging us, with the belief that reparenting is easy. Because as I said before, the Henry Ford quote, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are correct, right? And so it's much better to operate with that assumption that reparenting is easy, because in fact it is. A lot of the self-help industry is not actually trying to help you, That's why I'm not charging $10,000 for this course or something, because those kind of people, they don't really want to help you. They want to keep you stuck, so you had to keep coming back, pay the $10,000. That's why there are no commercials in this podcast for over a year, over 500 episodes in total with everything. No commercials at all, because I'm not trying to do something fake. I'm trying to get to something real for myself, I'm still trying to find an answer. I don't have the complete answer, but going through this process that I have confidence in and sharing that. And so just reminding you have the choice to feed the good wolf. And there are many ways that you might be unaware of which one you're feeding if you are unparented. So as we give ourselves some patience, understanding, forgiveness, and allow ourselves to grow and allow ourselves to be happy, allow ourselves to feel joy. That's the most important, allowing yourselves to feel happy and joy, because you will learn so much faster when you're having fun. So don't forget to laugh this weekend and have some fun, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.